The Moreness Show with hosts Sil and Bina is about to bring depth and value into your life.
Hello and welcome to the Moreness Show with Sil and Bina, and we are here today again, a bit still sleepy and all that, but this is the excitement we have always. Like, okay, yes, this is the kind of a dream we are living. That just pulls us out of our beds and like, okay, yes, we want to do this because this is something very very dear to us. Sharing. Why it is important? Because it is sharing. And today, Sil is going to share as such an interesting topic. Welcome to the show, sir.
Bina actually going to be talking about the power of intent. You have something to say about the power of intent.
Exactly.
Before Bina shares, I just want to say
yes.
Intent is an incredible part of life. It's a force, it's a power, it's an awesome, it's a moreness. It's really something most important. We'll get into what intent is a little bit, but Bina, let's first hear from you. Power of intent. Yeah.
Okay. So
why is this important?
Yes, because first a bit of clarification and a bit of disclaimer here that we are not talking about intention. There is a difference between and I was not aware of it. I was assuming that okay, intentions and intents are kind of the same. But when I joined Way-Of-Impeccability and the Moreness-Project with Sil, and Sil started sharing. And then he describes the difference between, okay, first, the very basic difference it is because of like, okay, the understanding of grammar and understanding of language. But it goes further. And that is something I really want to start with because this is very important to understand the difference between intention and the intent. So please share in a like smart, sweet, and short way.
Intention is future tense. Intent is present.
And why it's a big deal?
Well, when I say my intention, automatically it goes is to, which means that something in the future going to happen, right? But if I say I intend to do this, it's in process right now. It's already happening, right? Which means something has gone on, something has occurred, and that something is a commitment, an application of energy, and a connection to the universe.
Wonderful.
Right, Venus?
Wonderful. Yes. Yeah, and this is the difference I was keen for you to share with us because this is the very basic, this is the very core, and this is the real first step towards understanding in the Moreness culture that you are not talking about something which is in the air, you have no idea when it's going to happen, either is going to happen or not. But when we say intent, this is the full commitment, this is the full conviction behind that, this is the full understanding and your thoughtfulness about that I am doing it right now. I'm not just planning something like oh yes, I'm wishing something to happen. No, this is right there, this is the action, and this is the doing, but also the being. So this is again a very interesting twist into that when we talk about intent, yes, it's a doing, but also it is a way of being. When you have this clarity of intent, your life transformed right there. Clarity of intent, this is the first basic foundation of Way-Of-Impeccability, of course, which builds and goes further into Moreness-Culture. So just to give you a bit of like, okay, yes, one line that, okay, yes, intent is the invisible hand that is sculpt future long before action take place. So this is the basic of it, that intent is your tool, your mechanism to actually sculpt your future, you carve your future, to you design your future long before your action actually starts. This is the power of it. And what is the power of intent? We will go into detail, but still, please first.
I just want to further elaborate on what exactly intent is. Yes. Many things are difficult to describe directly. However, we can understand them by knowing what they are not, for instance, or by looking at them from multiple angles and perspectives. And then, even though we can't describe the thing itself, we can get an idea of it. Right? So this is how it is with intent. Very difficult to say because it's something a bit nebulous. Though we can't say precisely and exactly accurately what it is, or it's difficult. Now, let's take intent and will and say, well, what's the difference? They seem to be kind of the same. No. Will is the direct personal application of your personal energies. Your personal power is a better way to do it. I'm reluctant to use this term, personal power, because people tend to think of power in terms of dominance and bullies and hierarchy and dictators and stuff like that.
Yes.
No politics, no. Personal power, a nice word for personal power, kind of a street word, is juice. Yeah. Oh, he's got juice. Yeah, on the street. Now, juice can mean influence, but if you've got juice just as a person, it just means you're brimming with personal power, energy, and stuff happens around you, stuff happens for you. And if you know how to use that deliberately, that becomes will. You can make things happen through the force of your will alone. We're all aware of this. We all know it. We may not have personal experience of it, but we know what will is. Right? It's a word that's very common in our language. So is intent, but it's not quite as clear as will, especially with the confusion of intention, which is basically you're just saying, I'm going to be doing something. So intention is really just wishes, hopes, right? Relying, well, you know what, that's sort of what I want to do. And I mean, you actually do it, right? Look, for instance, the old saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. In other words, you ended up in hell despite having all sorts of good intentions. You didn't act on them. They didn't become intense, right? So intention means absolutely nothing because there's no action attached to it, right? But intent is in and of itself an action, as is will. So the difference between intent and will. Will is the personal application direct in your immediate world, in your surroundings. Intent is doing the same thing, except it is enlisting the aid of the universe, or the world, or however you want to put it. Right? That's the difference. So intent, when I intend something, it's typically larger than I'm capable of making happen by myself. Will is things that I can make happen by myself, even though the making happen is not by ordinary means, right? Like stuff that there's no real other explanation for it except that you willed it to be, and so it was. Right? It takes enormous power because you are rearranging the world. But because it's local and it's a small scale, it can be done if you have enough power. However, when it comes to really big things, you want to rearrange the world, even if it is 0.001%, that's still a massive shift in terms of absolute quantity. Percentage-wise, maybe small. But you want to change the world even in a tiny bit, you have to move a lot of energy. And for that, you need to have aid of the universe, right? So, of course, this is where Bina was talking about clarity of intent. If you are going to be messing with the world and life, you better know what you are doing. Yes.
Yes, this is very interesting because you bring up another such a huge topic about will and the difference between will and intent. What I understand so far from the will and the intent is the will is actually running for the house, like okay, actually just going into power and do something by yourself. And
Directly.
having intent is having like casting a vote wisely. That okay, yes, I'm giving my
Yes.
consent. So this is becoming part of that system, giving power to the system, and then you become like really, of course, when it gets into really in action, it makes a huge difference. But it is not exactly as that you are going to make some really rules and of course like some orders, pass some orders, build some policy and anything. But when you are casting a vote, you are setting an intent that this is something I'm putting my
Yes.
trust in. This is something I want for my country and for my people or whatever.
Yeah.
So this is the difference I understand from will and yes,
No. Carry on. I was just going to say there's a further
yes,
substantial difference between will and intent.
yes,
Will as a force, a power that comes from you, even though it may be local, right? Relatively local. It's still something that I can apply like I'm applying any other force, right? Let's say I've got a leaf blower, right? I'm blowing it around me.
Hmm.
That force that I'm blowing around me, yes, yeah, blows all the leaves, it goes crazy, right? Uh, but that's something that doesn't rely on my being in order to work, to happen, right?
Yes.
However, right, so it's external, and will is the same way. However, when it comes to intent, your entire being is involved,
Hmm.
because this is a big deal. From the universe's point of view, it's okay if we want to meddle with stuff locally, because others can meddle back. But if the universe is going to get on board and assist you, you better be, every single part of you needs to be behind whatever it is that you are intending. Yes. In other words, it's a total commitment of your being. And that's a
Exactly.
very, very substantial difference, right, between the two.
Okay.
One is, a force that you apply, and okay, you can be this, you can be that, it doesn't matter. It's very goal orientated, very specific, very deliberate. But it's not connected necessarily to how and who and what you are, what you want, what your goals are, what your character is, what your integrity is, etc. Intent, on the other hand, requires impeccability.
Hmm.
Right? Demands it. It absolutely demands it. Because you're messing with the serious stuff now. Right? And if you want the aid of the universe isn't going to help you if you just want nonsense. Right? No, sorry, not going to happen.
Hmm.
It may do sometimes, but you might think you're getting what you want. But usually, if your stuff is nonsense, it's not going to work out for you, and you're going to learn some not so pleasant lesson, but it's going to serve the universe's purpose. Okay? So
Yes.
sometimes people do get what they want, but not as a result of intent. It's just a happenstance that what they thought they wanted aligned with the universe's intent. The
Hmm.
universe has intent also. Yeah.
Okay. This is interesting. Okay. Before we go into the real depth of it, the topic is power of intent. How we can actually see the power? What are the
Yes.
benefits of having
Yeah.
clarity of intent and having understanding of intent also? Okay. So the first thing, what are the actual benefits? How we can apply this concept of intent, having an intent in our life?
Hmm. Benefits of applying intent. Well,
Yes.
on a very superficial level, you could say, well, it's getting what you want. But
Hmm.
it's more than that. It is the ability to acquire what you want, which is different to getting what you want. I may just be randomly walking along and stuff, falls in my lap and I get what I want. That doesn't
Hmm.
mean I've made it happen.
Hmm.
Intent, in other words, is agency, right?
Ah, okay.
When you have intent and you're able to use intent, you can make things happen. Like any power, of course, it has limitations, right?
Hmm.
And if if we have to be careful with power, because power can easily rule us. Power is very, very dangerous, right? But nonetheless, knowing that when you need to and you intend something and it has to be, it's going to come. Okay?
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
So what I was thinking that for me, the most important or the most prominent thing and one of the powers of intent, having understanding of power intent or having clarity of intent is that you take full charge of your life. The moment you set intent, it's not just wishing
Yes.
something, you are just understanding something about
Yes.
that this is something I am part of it. This whatever I'm intending for have my consent, and now I'm taking full responsibility of it. So the first thing is for me the benefits of having the clarity and understanding of intent is taking full responsibility, which means taking full charge and control of your life. We will discuss in more detail about this, and we will see the benefits of it Sil is going to share a lot of it about this. We will see you after a short commercial break.
Mike Zorek, a three-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a six-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2/3, and 2/4. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorek, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorek has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk on the BBM Global Network.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Welcome back to the Moreness Show with Sil and Bina. And before the break, we were discussing about the most kind of overlooked and kind of not so obvious benefits of having the understanding of intent and power of intent is that we take full responsibility and we take full charge of our life. You cannot just fool around when you have this understanding, the clarity that when I am setting an intent, I have the power to transform and change and make things happen in my life, which means that
Yes.
I am responsible. I am the only responsible for whatever is happening right now
Yes.
in my life.
Yes.
Yeah, it is today, what I'm sitting here is the fruit or the consequence of what I have been intending in my past, what I have been doing in my past. So this is the understanding, this is the clarity, the most important one for me, that it gives you this understanding, this clarity that you are the only responsible person for your life and circumstances and situation in your life. So please continue with this.
Yes. Yes. Bina, would you say that this intent and the responsibility is important? Very, very, very important. Not just important, but crucially important because of unintended consequences.
Oh, interesting. Please elaborate. Yes.
Anybody who's played games, MMOs, complex involved games, right? And you play, and then they have an update, and they fix bugs and everything, right? And they bring up a new version, they expand the thing a little bit, they improve it, whatever. Updates are a very constant part of gaming, right? Now, gamers are always looking for an edge, yes? Some edge in which to play better, find a way. All right. So very often when the designers, the developers, devs as they're known, right, when they change something and make some improvements in the game or whatever, do any kind of change, there are almost always unintended consequences. Which means suddenly you may find that the bank, literally, this happened in World of Warcraft. At the time was like the big huge game, right?
Yes.
And you could go to the bank and just withdraw however much gold you wanted, right? Some glitch in the game.
Yes.
Now, unintended consequences. Of course, everybody who did that had to give it back, or at least the the devs just took it back from your account. You didn't get to keep it. But sometimes you end up with a temporary advantage that really does benefit you, right? And initially they were just glitches, and they didn't really know what to do. Well, okay, we opened the door. It's not technically legal. And later on, the developers, the devs, they built into the game that this concept of exploits, right? So if they do something and it opens up a hole that you can exploit the game, if it's considered an exploit, well, sorry, then you can either get penalized for it or even get kicked out of the game, right? So they started with this, they started to get serious about this because of these unintended consequences were impossible for them to predict. They had no idea what was going to happen because you're changing the code and you change a little thing, and it does something random somewhere else, like the bank. They took away security on the bank, right? They didn't try and do this. They weren't even working on the bank.
Yes.
Something happened. So this is the complexity of a game. Incredibly complex. How much more complex isn't life in its totality?
Yes.
Yeah?
Oh, yes.
We tend to think we're isolated, but everything is connected. Like, for instance, in the game, your program is connected to every single other bit of programming in the game. Everything is connected.
Like the
right?
ecosystem.
Like the ecosystem, exactly. Right? And a small change, insignificant change, can have a major consequence. You all know about the butterfly sneeze, right? Causing an earthquake. We'll change the metaphor slightly. The point is unintended consequences. Therefore, if you are going to be messing with the system, as it were, which is what intent is, right? It's like you're not just on a computer, you're not loading a program and running it, and no, you're actually now at the intent. You're changing your operating system, which,
Yes.
as anybody will tell you, anybody in Windows or Apple or whatever, mess with the operating system at your peril. As a matter of fact, they even put safeguards against
Yes.
people messing with the operating system,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Because it is so dangerous and so easy to mess the whole thing up, right? Now,
Yes.
should you mess up your entire operating system? Well, you can just do a clean reboot. Life, not so much. Unless that's what death is, right? It's a clean
Yes.
reboot. I really mangled this stuff. I better do a clean reboot. That's quite possible. In my opinion, that's what death is. Yes. Not just a reboot to start over, but hopefully you get to retain some of what you have, right? The basic core, like, your computing terms would be your CMOS or whatever, right? So you get to keep some of it, at least what. But with intent, you're looking to rearrange things to some way or another. So you better be sure. You better be sure of what you are doing. Yes. Not only that, which is why clarity of intent is so important. For many reasons, clarity of intent, but particularly so that you will not have any regrets or recriminations of.
This is very interesting, and without going into any specific, I just want to say that we can see this happening around when people might have very good intent, but when they don't have it, when they are not aware that what are the consequences, potential consequences of whatever intent they have, they are messing with the world system right now. You can see that this is what is happening. I'm not saying, I'm not blaming anyone to have bad intent about it. I'm just saying that okay, having the system and then of course with the good intent is still not having the full broad spectrum understanding of it. You can mess with the system big time, and we can see this right now. This is what is happening, but also in the ecosystem. Still always mention that, okay, yes, what are the inappropriate application of goodness? When people
Oh,
are good, when people are good
oh,
and they
yes,
have good intent, again, intent means power. When they have good intent behind that power also,
yes.
but still they end up messing with things. And there is a concept, okay, again, I'm not going into specifics, but I'm just saying that there is a very specific command or a verse from a holy religious script, which says that that humans are sometimes, not always, but sometimes they ask, they literally beg and strive for something which is going to harm them, but they assume that
Yes.
this is going to benefit them, which was like, okay, oh, how one can do this. This is how we do that when we don't have a clarity of intent, when we don't have a good, big, full spectrum understanding of things, like we are messing with our ecosystem with the good intent. Oh, I want to feed birds,
Yes.
I want to
Yes.
feed cats, I want to feed stray dogs, or whatever. This is something we do with the good intent. All the people,
Yes.
whoever
Yes.
they are doing with the good
Yes.
intent. Even people who were trying to get mass production of massive production of cereals and wheats for the humanity. This is what they were doing. They mess up with something because they were not understanding. We can see that in every aspect of our life. People do this with the good intent with their spouses, with their relation in their relationship.
With a
They
good
try to
intention, not
control.
necessarily a good
Yes,
intent, but yeah.
yeah, give attention because they really try to do something
Yeah.
good for them, but they end up trying to be a bully, a manipulator, and sometimes, of course, in more severe cases, they end up with some really tragic situation. But the intent is always behind with some goodness in it. They were trying to good according to their understanding. And this is the point Sil was making about having the understanding and be really, really, really scrupulous about, be really thorough about when you are giving your consent. For me, intent is actually giving consent to some specific actions or happenings in
Right.
your life. Or, and of course, in
Yes.
other life
Yes.
also.
It's consenting to a serious change.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
and with that, you better be careful. Be
Exactly.
careful so that you
Exactly.
don't get those unintended consequences. This is so
Absolutely.
crucial. But intent to goodness is a very powerful force. And here's the thing: an intent to goodness, just in itself, right? If I say I intend goodness, I have an intent to goodness. Me personally, I trust my intent to goodness implicitly. Why? Because I insist on saying I don't know exactly what goodness means,
Wow.
right? And most good people I know too, they don't use the words, the term intent to goodness, but they have the same thing. I just want things to be good. How exactly? I don't know. I trust them. I trust. I trust in God. I trust in Allah. I trust in Buddha. I trust in the universe. I trust it will work out. That is a non-specific intent, a global universal intent, an abstract intent. Those we can trust because I'm not specifying. I'm leaving it up to the universe to specify. When I start specifying, that's where the problems come. When I start
This,
saying, I know what is good, that's where the trouble starts, right, Veena?
but can I say that, okay, I know what I want and this is good for me. Can I say that?
What I want is different to what is good for me.
This is the question here. This is the power of intent.
Most people
Because
understand that. Yeah,
things do happen when you have clear intent. This is
right,
something I
right,
have in my
right.
personal experience. I can say that when you have a clarity of intent, when you have real intent, not intention, because I dream about so many things like, oh yeah, this is what I want to do, this is what
Yes,
I
me
want
too.
to have, and all that. But having an intent
I like daydream.
is a different thing than intentions. I can have tons of intentions, of course, and they are not going to mess up with anything. But the intent is the consent with the universe that, okay, this is something we are going to make it happen. This is something we just sign the papers, we get into agreement that, okay, this is what we are going to do. So we have to be like always when we are signing any paper, when we are doing anything which involves our consent, we are giving it formally. We have to be that scrupulous, that careful
Correct,
about
correct.
giving our consent. There is something about intent because people have this idea of law of attraction, and I was into that. You know that, okay? I was like, okay, yes, and I was practicing in fun way. Okay, I had my hair were always straight, but I one day I saw in a
I
reality
love
show a contestant. She had beautiful curls, and in just one way, I said, okay, I'm going to have curly hair. That was a fun thing. But I was so liking her. And also because, and mama, immediately my mother response was like nonsense. Okay. And her response was funny for me. And it triggers me and it get in me in completely involved into that. Like, okay, it was coming out of joy and fun without having any restriction, any hesitation or reluctance. And then,
It's
no,
coming
I'm going
from
to have,
play. It's coming
yes,
from play.
exactly. And she was assuming that I'm going to get my hair curled. But I was saying that, okay, my hair are going to be curled. And that was
Naturally.
the thing, naturally. And within 3 or 4 months, I had like huge curl. And my mother was really, really upset with me because in her mind, without even saying that okay, you did something, she was saying that you messed up with your hair, Veena. She was aware that it happens with something, with my intent, but without having this understanding consciously, she was saying that stop doing this, whatever you did, stop doing this. I
Wow.
got my I can share you share my pictures with you,
Yeah.
naturally curly hair, and I had my straight hair. This is the power of intent. When you
Yeah.
have this without having any personal agenda involved into that, when you have no
Right.
ego nonsense,
Right.
when you
Right.
have play, when you have capital P play, when you have capital F fun, when you have capital J joy in it, then you can actually make things happen. Because in
Yes.
those moments, universe was also, I assume that universe was also laughing that okay, and amused by that. Okay, Beena, here you go, and you will
Because
have
it's
curly.
inconsequential. It affects you and you only. Really.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly. And this is what happened. And I got my hair curly, absolutely curly. And it was like, seriously. And everybody was amazed by that. I was not aware of it, the power of intent at that time, even though I was playing with it. I will continue with this because it is just not funny. It has moreness also involved into
Oh,
this story.
yes. Oh,
So
yes. A
I'm
big
going
deal.
to continue with this. And Sil and me, we are going to discuss more about the power of intent.
Yes.
We'll see you
Yes.
guys after the short commercial break.
Dr. RC will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success, as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers, as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays, 10 a.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network, and tune in radio as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. You can also visit her at soarwithkatie.com. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
Welcome back to the Moreness Show with Sil and Beena, and welcome back to the fun story of power of intent. So I was sharing
Yes.
before the break that okay, I just got this idea that I want curly hair naturally without having any artificial or cosmetic changes, and I got it. And I got it, and I was really enjoying. I was jumping with joy that oh yes, I can make it. Even though it was happening, physically happening, and almost for all the people around me, it was impossible, but they were witnessing it that it happened. and I was enjoying it without being fully aware of the consequences of the power of intent,
Mm.
even though I was having. So sometimes it happens that we just play with things. We assume that it is fun, like, okay, oh, someone just read the book Secret, very famous one. And then they say, oh, yes, I manifested this, I materialized this. They say that even after practicing all the rituals and whatever it is still they don't understand the power of intent, because power of intent is it can actually transform your life for good,
Yes.
no way back.
Yes.
And it
Yes.
happens with me, and we are going to share a story with you guys next week. It's a very interesting story. It's a real life story, but also
Very
it's a fictional
powerful
story.
story, not just interesting, but
Exactly, because it was a fictional story which materialized in real life in real time with
yeah.
real character, of course.
Yeah.
And we are going to share
Just so
story.
next week we're talking about the sort of the lighter side of it this week, more inconsequential, the more trivial.
Yes,
But that
yes,
story is showing the real life changing, really where it matters, where it's a big deal. So we'll have
exactly.
the contrast. But
Yes,
Veena,
yes,
on your hair, right?
yes,
I
yes.
am keen to say, okay, it happened, but there were also side effects of this, right?
Of course, like,
Because
okay,
Mama wasn't happy, so why wasn't Mama happy?
okay, Mama was, because even she was like seeing that, okay, my hair got curl and all that, and she was really upset because as a conventional mother, of course, she was like, okay, you had that straight hair, and okay, why you are messing up? She was saying I'm messing up with my hair, but she was not realizing that it was just the power of my intent. Because when things happen so easily in your life, when things happen like instantly, it's a consequence, it's a
It's
negative
too
consequence of
impossible.
that,
It's too
that
impossible
we
to handle for the brain.
exactly, and we kind of like go with the flow that, oh yes, it happened, but I don't want that, and okay, this is not good, and this is fun and all that. We get so overwhelmed that we don't get into the depth, the real grasp of this understanding that, oh,
The
this is,
implications.
yes, if this can happen with this almost impossible thing,
Yeah,
why it cannot happen with other things which we really
yeah,
really want in our
yeah,
life.
yeah,
And that
yeah,
was the missing link, this is something missing
yeah,
in all the,
yeah.
okay, sorry to say, almost all the videos I have seen and read books and read testimonials about the law of attraction. People don't get into the depth of it, that
Correct, correct.
if you can materialize your dream house or a dream relationship or a Ferrari or a Lamborghini or whatever you want, why not you can transform your life in the most important and of course the most noble
Correct,
way?
correct, correct.
Why we are not able to transform the world in general? Why we are not able
Yes,
to do that? Why we are not
yes,
intent to excel? Why we don't attract to excel as a human being? This is something
yes,
missing. This is something we always take law of attraction, which is actually the power of intent. We always take it just for fun thing. Oh, I want a blue dress. Oh, I want to look like this. I want to have this relationship. Of course, these things are important, but not as much as that we can transform the world for good. This is the missing link, because
yes, yes.
even though we are practicing, some
For
people,
real good, not imagined good.
exactly, why we don't attract that, okay, more greener world? Why don't we attract more cleaner, more, okay, and excel in technology? This is something we don't do that. We kind of isolating ourselves into there's just the local thing that, oh, I want a blue dress, okay, I want this relationship, I want this, which is of course not bad, but I'm saying that you have this power. Once you understand that you have this power, try to utilize it, try to use it for collective goodness, for collective
Yes,
improvement. and also
yes,
and also
yes,
personally, why don't you attract that, okay, to be a good character, to have more character in your
that's
life,
it.
to have more
That's
depth
it.
in your life, and of course to have more understanding. Why to just limit
Yes.
in our artificial thing, not artificial only, but yeah, why to limit just in local, just in
Shallow.
personal circle, yes, just on surface. Why not just intend something more? Because
Correct.
even though We materialize things even though we know that, oh, I'm a co-creator, oh, I'm a creator. But still, we are not actually accepting this idea. We
Yes.
assume that we are limited. My power is limited only to local, only to person,
Yeah.
only to just material thing. This is the lock we need to unlock in our mind. This is something we need to click, that yes, this is exactly a girl who is sitting in her room, that okay, oh yes, this is my dream house and I just manifested. Yes, you manifested. Why not
But
manifest
now
something
what?
more than that? Exactly.
Right. We need to ask that question, and then what? So everything you say to me asks the question, brings up the question, do you really want what you want? Right,
Exactly.
Bina? To summarize,
Exactly.
do
Yes.
you really want what you want? We think we want things, but then it turns out, well, now that I have it, it's a bit late. Right? This is a recurring problem in futuristic stories, science fiction stories, other worlds, other planets. The end goal of civilizations. Where are they headed? Right? It's a common theme that if they get what they want, they end up imploding. For instance, an ultra materialistic society, right? All your needs are met. You've got robots, you can materialize things. You've got, the what do they call it on Star Trek? Where it makes the things for them. They have a word for it.
Portal. Portal.
No, not the transport. The thing that materializes like their food and whatever item you want. It makes it for you.
Okay, I don't remember.
Right? I mean,
Anyway.
you tell it, well, I want a cup of coffee, and it makes the cup and the coffee. Right? That's it.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember the word now. Anyway,
Okay. Anyway.
so as societies that get to that level, they run out of. It just becomes this continual satisfaction of your material needs, but that only goes so far. Those material needs are only really something special when you do without them, but when they're constantly being met, it fades very quickly. It's not substantial. It
Because
doesn't have substance, doesn't
because
last.
because we don't grow with that. The problem is that,
Exactly.
okay, if I was trying to materialize a smartphone or an iPhone in my life, and I actually
Exactly.
get it exactly, like, oh, this is the color I want, this is the model I want, this is
Exactly.
something I was looking for. When I get it, I need to remember and, of course, remind myself that yes, this is something I give consent and I got the power and make things happen. This thing happened, so then other things can also. The problem is that we get stuck into this. We don't want
Right.
to take full responsibility of it. I don't want to take a responsibility of the pollution in the world. I don't want to take responsibility of any mess up in the political situation or religious, of course, religious pollution also, religious corruption also. I don't want to take responsibility of it. So that's why, even though I'm aware of it, like a teenager who is manifesting all these things like a blue dress or a pearl necklace or whatever, they are also doing all these things. They are aware of the power, but they want to keep themselves isolated because they don't want to take full responsibility of it. That's why they name it law of attraction. I was just attracting. You are not only attracting, you are materializing things. Attracting means that,
Yes.
okay, yes, things were there, and oh, I'm just saying that, okay, this is something I want, like I was doing shopping. Yes, but you're doing that specific shopping, you were making a decision, and making every decision comes with
You're bringing it
responsibility.
into the world now.
Exactly. When I am making a decision, I'm taking responsibility that this is something I am making. I want in my life. That's why we just give a very fancy name, or like give a name, law of attraction. This is the power of intent. You are playing with the intent. You are
Yeah.
playing with
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
consent
Yeah.
of course, yours and the universe. You are
It's
making
poorly
it.
understood, power of intent.
Exactly. Exactly.
Poorly understood. Because
Yes.
it's when you look at law of attraction, it's the word attraction in itself. It's kind of shallow, right? I mean, to be attractive, attraction, all this, and you're pulling stuff towards you. But basically, unfortunately, all of it is more or less geared to satisfying your petty wants and desires, satisfying material needs. Intent is a serious business. It's a spiritual business. And
Hmm.
would you say, Bina, intent is deeply and has to be intimately connected to attunement. Cannot
Yes.
really have one without the other.
Yes.
Why? Because I do not know what is good for me. Not in the ultimate sense. I may believe, I may more or less know, I may know in the short term, but ultimately I have no clue.
Hmm.
I have no clue what I really want, right? I
Yes.
think I want this, I think I want that, but then somebody comes along and say, yeah, but, and then, oh, yeah, I realize, okay, yeah, that wasn't such a good idea, right? So I
Yes.
know my judgment is flawed. This is the power of attunement. Now, when do I use intent?
Yes. Interesting
I'm
question.
asking you, Bina.
Okay. For me, again, when I say that, okay, it's a consent I'm giving to the universe that, okay, this is something I want. I need to be very thorough about it, as you were saying. I need to be very scrupulous about this, and I need to be like really open and be really brave about having this responsibility. But even with all these responsibility and cautions and everything, we need this intent to be really clear in our life. It can be about material. Yes, it sounds very shallow that, okay, oh, I want these things. But even these, when I'm materializing, I am attracting, or I am whatever I'm doing, I'm creating these things in my life. I do make decisions according to and in alignment with the intent, or with my intent that, okay, this is something I want. Like if I want to go south, I cannot face towards north. I have to face towards the south. So this is my understanding. This is my consent that, okay, yes, I'm going in that direction. So when I'm doing this, I'm making a decision. And when I'm making a decision, I'm taking a responsibility. So now it is not something I'm just attracting my face towards, I'm facing towards north, and I'm saying I'm going to south. This is not going to happen. So when I have to do that, I have to, of course, turn towards south and say that, okay, this is where I'm heading towards. When it comes to like, okay, really having intent, when it is according to my understanding right now, is completely in attunement, in alignment with the bigger and the abstract goodness.
There you go. We'll talk after the break, right, Bina? We'll continue on.
Oh, wow, I was not looking at it. Thank you so much for reminding me. I was talking about. Thank you so much, Kristen, also for reminding us. This is something really, really helpful. So, yes, this is the power of intent, and we are going to discuss it later after the short commercial break. And I will ask a bit more question about these things with Sil. See you after the break.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of the Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on the Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Mike Zorek, a three-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a six-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2/3, and 2/4. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorek, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorek has enjoyed a fruitful career. doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk on the BBM Global Network.
Welcome back to the Moreness Show with Sil and Bina. And before the break, Sil brings up such like really serious point into this conversation about power of intent. Please, Sil, continue.
I'm just saying, the question is, do I want what I want? And when you start to think about that, you realize, problem is we don't know what to want. We have no idea. Now, just because I don't know what I want doesn't mean I cannot want anything. I can want in the abstract. I can want what's best for me, what's good for me, even though I have no idea of what it exactly is. Right? So I can want in the overall, and I can intend that. I can intend the best for me, regardless. I don't know what it is, but I intend it. And when you start on this path, you start living in attunement. And the more you start living in attunement, you realize, oh, whatever I have is profoundly good for me.
Yes.
Incredibly, magically good for me.
Yes.
And that changes our lives incredibly. Let's get back to this clarity of intent, right? Why is it so important to be clear in your intent? Because first of all, the more clear you are, the more you enable your brain to actually connect to what you want on a very pure, simple, ordinary way. Right? If you're fuzzy, your brain doesn't know what to connect to. And that's the way the brain works, via association, via emphasis.
Yes.
And the more you emphasize in the something, the more the brain changes to facilitate connectivity to what you are emphasizing, right? What you're paying attention to.
Yes.
Therefore, if you know exactly what you want and you're totally clear, you start noticing everything that you need in order to get to connect, go further, to progress on your path towards getting what you want.
Exactly.
It makes it simple for your brain to notice what's relevant and what's pertinent. Relevance and pertinence are magical words. They're in our dictionary of power. They are incredibly important, as is emphasis. Emphasis, literally, it actually changes the physical wiring in your brain. Right? So it's incredible what it can do, which is why things like PTSD are so important, because yes, somebody who had an emphasis and a major emphasis, the brain rewired in that moment and it got stuck on something really horrible. And it just loops around and around, right? So or any kind of trauma. But likewise, when we say, for instance, you ask all parents, about their first child being born, they tell you every single detail, everything, right? So magical things we remember, positive as well as negative, because of emphasis. This is why clarity of intent is so critically important. Not only does it now make your brain work with the way it works, right? But also it helps to keep you motivated. If you know what you want, why you want, and you've thought it through to the end, and your perspective shifted to multiple perspectives, you've been really thorough about it, you feel confident. You trust your own desire and intent. You trust the path you're on until something comes along to change it, of course, right? But you trust it, and that motivates you. If I feel that what I want is right, not right in a moralistic sense, but right according to me, to my conscience, right? I'm happy to pursue it, and I'm motivated to pursue it.
Yes.
So it's life-changing. Furthermore, the more clear our intent, the less the chances of the unforeseen happening, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Unintended consequences. Furthermore, if I'm absolutely clear about my intent and I've thought it through every single which way and I say, yes, this is what I want. And then somebody comes and says, yeah, but what if this happens or this happens? So be it. That's the price I'm willing to pay. Right? So therefore, when we have clarity of intent, we are also able to live with our decisions.
This is very interesting now. Yes.
And that's a huge deal. For instance, take where most people have made decisions in their lives that they later regret. They weren't very clear about what they wanted. They weren't very clear about what they were doing. For the most part, they weren't even thinking at all. They were just kind of going along with things, doing, or they were acting on a motivation, a desire that wasn't very good.
they were overwhelmed by the newness. Newness charm
That
is
also,
a big
that
deal
also,
because
that
whatever
also.
we don't have, we assume that this
Right,
is going to be a
right,
life-changing thing. Even if it is just a
right,
color of my room, I would like, oh, if I would have this, and this is going to be. After 15 days, I get used to with this, and the newness gone, and now this is my reality. Once things become your reality, then you actually realize that do I really, really want this? Like, okay, oh, I still want this or not? That's why we have regrets in our life. That's why we keep chasing new and new after things and things and things that, oh, this one I like and this one I like. We don't get the allowance of newness to get into this. Whenever you are
right,
intending something, please give allowance to the newness also, the charm of that
right.
newness. That, oh, this is something, yes, I'm excited right now. It is not my conviction behind that. It is just my
Yes.
excitement for the charm of the newness. So always keep the allowance of it,
And
the
that's a
margin.
problem. That's
Yes.
a problem with the intent of happiness itself.
Hmm.
We have this default intent that we intend our happiness to come from outside of us. Things make us happy. Situations make us happy. Happiness comes from outside of us.
Wrong association.
Completely, not just a wrong association, a wrong assumption, a wrong idea, a wrong understanding,
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
therefore a flawed intent. Right?
Exactly.
That's not what makes you happy. It's you that is the determiner of it. If you are happy, it doesn't matter what circumstance you're in, really. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so we
I mean,
are at the end.
extremes accepted.
Yes,
Yeah.
we are at the end of our show, today's show. And just to wrap up, we were sharing about the power of intent. Intent is the big, huge topic in Way of Impeccability and
Oh, yeah.
Moreness-Project.
Oh, yeah.
And this is also not only because of Way of Impeccability or Moreness-Project, but also because intent is the core of our life. Whatever is happening right now in our life, whatever is going to happen in our life in future, it is a consequence of our intent. And intent
Yes.
for me, again, just to emphasize on that, this is a consent we give to the universe that this is something, yes, I want. So which means that every time, every single time when we give consent,
Yeah.
we sign the papers, we make it legal, we take full responsibility of it. So it makes
Uh,
us
uh, uh,
the only responsible for our life.
absolutely. And I just want
Yes.
to add something very quickly. In our shows, we are not looking to necessarily explain something. We try as best we
Yes.
can, but it's only an hour. Intent is
Yes.
something you've got to live, and it's a long thing. What we are aiming to do is share an awareness of the topic itself.
Yes.
That's just to get started, and that's enough. That's all we need to do, right, Weena?
Yes.
To share an awareness of the concept, of the topic, of the understanding. You can go and figure it out, think it through, work it out, do more research, contact us, connect to us, follow us, look at all the other stuff we have. There's plenty you can do. But once you're aware, start. Without that awareness, you might never get started. Right, Bina?
Yes, exactly. Because
I'll
this
see
is
you
the
next week.
reminder. This is the reminder for me because I was always asking,
Yeah,
so just wrap it up
yeah,
in a nice way that people can get all these things. But exactly, he's right that okay, we cannot do this. We cannot do justice of topics of this nature, like because they are so potent, they are so dense. But today we share
a
something like
glimpse of
fun,
the
the
mourners.
fun side of the law of attraction or power of intent. Next week, we are going to get into the more depth of it, and we will share a story, the story of Sophie and the philosopher. It's a real life
Yes,
story, and you will see, guys. See you guys
yes,
next week. Thank you so much,
yes,
Christian. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Bye
yes.
for now.
Bye bye, everybody.
This has been The Moreness Show with Sil and Bina. Tune in each week as they focus on bringing joy and peace of being to us all. Thursdays, 9 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network. Powered by B2 Studios.